Hello everyone. How's your day? I hope you all are doing absolutely fine. Today, we're diving into our slash today, I F up, the subreddit where people share their most hilariously unfortunate slip-ups. Get ready for some wild, cringeworthy, and maybe even relatable tales of accidental chaos. Let's jump right in.
Today I F up by going camping alone and doing mushrooms with strangers. Obligatory, this was many moons ago, but the recent camping post had me reminiscing. I was in my late 20s and have minimal experience camping and never alone, but was familiar with this area in the Washington State Cascades. It's a primitive camping area on a lake which is at the end of a 15 to 20-mile dirt road off the freeway. It's called Lost Lake. I was going camping with the intent of connecting with myself and God. I was also coming into a time of life where I was content and happy to do things by myself if that was the only option. I set up a raging fire and now it's heading towards dusk. I was having a few beers and enjoying the unnecessarily large fire when a dog ran onto my campsite. Two cute ladies in their early 20s chased their dog onto my site and we exchanged pleasantries, although I had a committed girlfriend at the time, my wife now, and wasn't flirting, just passing the time. They show up with zero firewood, and it's getting dark and difficult to collect wood, so I help them get a large bundle. Jumping over rocks and logs on the lake shore. I was a little bored, and it was a poor time and place to start getting much-needed firewood. They were very appreciative and offered me some vodka, and I took a couple of pulls. We talked a bit more, and they offered me some weed, and at the time I had not smoked in a long time, and so I obliged. They then offered me shrooms, which I had never done. My judgment was in the garbage, so I obliged. I get their fire going. It's late now, but it's a full moon. Nothing wild at all happening yet, and then they both really want to go for a walk. So they both strap on headlamps, and they each have a dog on a leash, and we just start marching up the lake. We stop and admire the moon. At one point during the march I start rolling, and I'm convinced I'm being marched to my grave. We stop at a waterfall about a mile away, and I tell them I'm feeling nervous about the situation. They agree to turn around. As we're walking back to the campsite, the rhythmic buzzing of the insects, almost like a million grasshoppers breathing as one unit, and the faint light of the moon on the ferns. It made me feel that the earth itself was literally alive. Now we get back to camp and my site is in the brush and the pitchest of blacks and I'm on another planet. There is no way I'm getting things in motion again there. It's cold and dark and scary and just not happening. I helped get their fire going, so it was natural for me to join them. I also pointed out how exposed my situation was at that point and beseeched them to pretend we were really good old friends because I really needed that in the moment, both for my safety and for the enjoyment of the situation. They were happy to talk by the fire and made me feel welcome, although they were both going through some emotional things. I remember the fire looking like a hearth from Helm's Deep. I remember being there longing so desperately to be at a nightclub or somewhere with lights and music. Which is funny because I've heard that people that do shrooms in those settings long for the wilderness. I remember looking up at the stars and they all looked like they were shooting through the sky with a long tail but weren't actually moving. I'm staring up at the sky and one girl asked me what I was thinking about. Without taking my gaze from the psychedelic celestial bodies, I replied rather nonchalantly, "Well, I'm convinced now that you two aren't going to kill me." To which they let out a muted laugh. I took a pause, still looking at the stars, but really I was thinking about God and my friends. And that's all I said, and that's all I had the capacity to say, and to say I was demure in the delivery would be an understatement. At this moment one of the girls just released on me every ounce of hatred for God and how terrible God is, and on and on and on. It was a tide of hatred being spewed upon me, and I was a captive audience. I didn't argue, I just listened for what must have been 45 minutes of this. I was just praying to become sober again so that I could take care of myself in the wilderness and stopping listening to the hate. After all, I wasn't there doing anything differently than what they were doing. I finally felt that I had become sober again, and a wave of relief rushed over me in a way that I can hardly explain, to finally have facilities back. It felt like I was finally released from a strong ocean riptide and placed safely on the sand. It felt like gently and safely landing on the tarmac in a plane that had run out of fuel. I said goodbye as fast as I could, backed up my Saab 93 with haste, great glee, strapped the canoe on top, bumped some Fleetwood Mac and drove home at 3 a.m. First, last, and only time I do shrooms. TLDR did shrooms for the first time with complete strangers. Felt scared for me life. stranger ranted while I was a captive audience.
Solo camping to connect with yourself and God sounds peaceful, until strangers show up with vodka, grass, and shrooms. What started as a wholesome retreat turned into a psychedelic journey where you felt like you were being marched to your grave, only to end up around a campfire listening to a 45-minute rant against God. The vivid descriptions of buzzing insects and shooting stars really capture the surreal mix of fear, awe, and regret. Lesson learned. Maybe don't take shrooms with strangers in the middle of nowhere.
Today I F up by taking the wrong meds. I work in building maintenance. Yesterday I had some lower back pain and decided to take some ibuprofen on my lunch break. I went home, ate lunch and took 3 pills, 600 milligrams, and went back to work. I was working alone in an empty apartment doing renovations when I started to feel my heart racing a little. I also noticed my thoughts were getting jumbled and my body was tingling. It felt like the onset of a panic attack. I have severe social anxiety, so I am familiar with panic attacks, but thought it was weird that I was getting one while I was alone. I just turned up my music and focused on my work. Kept slowly getting worse though. My thoughts started getting really dark and nasty and my heart rate kept speeding up. My chest started to feel tight and I felt like I couldn't breathe. I thought, man, I need to get out of this apartment or I'm going to die and nobody is going to know I'm here. So I left and hopped on my maintenance golf cart to drive to my shop. As I'm driving, I immediately realized I was intoxicated. I am a recovering addict, so I know how it feels to be high, and I was definitely high. I parked my cart and started walking home. I live on site. I started running through my day. Remember, my brain isn't exactly firing on all cylinders. Trying to think what I could have possibly done. Was it fumes? Did I touch something? Was it a spider bite? Am I just losing it? Then I remembered the ibuprofen. I started Googling ibuprofen poisoning and allergic reactions, etc. Then I got home and went to check the bottle to see if it was expired or something. That's when I realized I didn't take ibuprofen. I took sleeping pills. 150 milligrams of diphenhydramine HCl. Holy crap. So, in my defense, the bottles look identical. They're both clear with a green top and a white label. The pills are green gel caps. The sleeping pills are a slightly lighter shade of green, but they are otherwise identical. We don't normally keep those in the house, but we were on vacation and my wife had a bout of insomnia. When we got home, I unpacked and put the bottle in the kitchen where we keep the ibuprofen, not thinking. Had I realized what they were, I would have put them in a specific place. I had a laugh/cry session once I realized what happened. I was just so relieved that I wasn't losing my mind. I called my wife and told her what happened and she would be having dinner alone. Then I slept for 18 hours. I still feel a little groggy, and my back is killing me. But other than that, I'm okay. TLDR, I took sleeping pills instead of ibuprofen and thought I was going crazy. Bottles and pills look exactly the same. Slept 18 hours straight.
Mixing up medication is scary, but this one takes the cake. Imagine dealing with what feels like a full-blown panic attack at work, only to realize you accidentally downed 150 milligrams of sleeping pills instead of ibuprofen. The heart racing, the dark thoughts, and the I need to get out of here before I die moment. Terrifying. At least you figured it out before things got worse. But 18 hours of sleep is quite the price to pay for that mistake. Moral of the story: double-check those bottles, especially when they look like twins.
Today I F up by making a mistake at work, immediately lying and got caught. 20F got hired at a tea store 2 weeks ago. Today we ran of the cheese foam topping, and I was meant to tell the customers who were ordering that we didn't have any more, but for one customer I forgot to mention it. When my supervisor was making this customer's drink, they asked me if I mentioned there was no cheese foam, and I panicked and lied and said I did, and to make it without adding the foam. The supervisor made the drink, and then the customer came up and complained about the no cheese foam. My supervisor came up to me and just said, "No, you didn't tell him about the cheese foam," and that was it. Due to social anxiety, this is my first ever job. I feel like I've already ruined my reputation and their trust in me. I don't know why I lied and avoided accountability. What the actual fuck is wrong with me? Currently 2 a.m. and I can't sleep. I'm thinking I should quit and try again elsewhere. TLDR, messed up at work, immediately lied and got caught, thinking about quitting.
Starting your first job can be nerve-wracking, and moments like this really test your confidence. Forgetting to mention the cheese foam and then panicking with a lie? Totally relatable when social anxiety kicks in. While it feels like the end of the world right now, trust me, it's not. Mistakes happen, especially when you're new, and most supervisors understand that. Instead of quitting, use this as a chance to learn. Owning up to errors shows growth and builds trust. You got this.
Today I F up by taking cough drops while sick, causing my gums to recess. Today I F up by being sick this past week. As all people do, when I'm sick I take time off work and relax at home. I had a nasty cough and sore throat. I bought a full bag of cough drops and had them with me 24/7. I would pop one every 15 minutes for about 4 days straight. My nightly routine of washing my face and brushing my teeth went out the window for those 4 days. On the 5th day, I was feeling better and got around to doing my normal routines. I brushed, flossed, and used mouthwash. My mouth didn't feel right. I did a close inspection of my gums and noticed several blacks in between some teeth and noticeable redness around others. I was devastated when I realized the black spots were the absence of gum tissue. In 4 days of constantly taking sugary cough drops and not brushing my teeth, my gums recessed majorly. I usually take my oral health seriously, so I'm very devastated. TLDR, I was sick with a cough and sore throat. Took sugary cough drops constantly for 4 days without brushing my teeth, causing my gums to recess and gaps to appear in between my teeth.
This is a tough one. When you're sick, the last thing on your mind is oral health, but popping sugary cough drops nonstop for days really took a toll. Not brushing your teeth during that time probably didn't help either. And now you're dealing with gum recession and black spots. It's a hard lesson learned, but it's a good reminder to keep up with basic care, even when you're under the weather. Hopefully, your gums recover quickly. And that's a wrap on today's Today I F Up Stories. We had everything from getting lost in the woods while on shrooms, to taking the wrong meds and thinking you were going crazy, messing up at work and lying about it, and finally neglecting your teeth while sick and regretting it. We all make mistakes, but we learn from them. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Tell me which one had you cringing the most. Stay fine, everyone.